Good morning, my brilliant students. I'm excited to be with you at this moment. My name is Joy AEC. I am your facilitator for the course ENG 141, Spoken English. Your knowledge from this course will help to boost your confidence whenever you speak the English language in any given situation. It will help you to understand other educated speakers of the language, whether they are Nigerians, Americans, British, Australians, or Canadians. They too will be able to understand you as you speak. I have heard many of you pronounce the English words as you pronounce words of your native languages. And each time you do that, it fractures the ears and then keeps one wondering what precisely you are talking about. For instance, some of you pronounce the words womb as womb, plumber as plumber, bomber as bomber. These pronunciations are wrong in English. But you don't need to worry. As we journey together on this course, you will be able to overcome your pronunciation difficulties and then speak the English language correctly the way it should be spoken, without faking your voice and without changing your accent as Nigerians. All right, my students, in this first lesson, we shall learn the major differences between speech and writing. We know already that spoken language and written language are both ways of communicating with others, but they differ significantly in many ways. Let us first look at the definitions of these two words. Speech can be defined as a means of communicating our ideas and thoughts by using vocal sounds. That means words of the mouth. Writing, on the other hand, can be defined as a way of using signs and symbols to pass information across to the reader. And so you can say, while writing has to do with the reader, speech has to do with the listener. And they differ in the sense that speech is usually transient, except where it is recorded. In that case, it can be permanent as you want that to be. Because it is transient, it gives the speaker the opportunity to correct themselves and change their utterances as they deem necessary. We do not have it that way in writing, because writing is permanent, because written text cannot usually be changed once they have been printed or written out. But then you can cancel, you can edit, and you can have the next edition of your published works. Speech is natural, and as such, every normal person has the ability to speak the language of his or her community. We learn to talk naturally as a child without formal education, through listening and speaking to those around us. And so as a child, we can listen to imitate. When we imitate, we speak. It is a natural process. But writing is not natural. For writing, you have to learn the skill. Sometimes we do so in a formal environment. In a school, we learn to write from our knowledge of speech. Informal versus formal. Speech is informal most of the time, but writing is usually formal. Sometimes also you can have formal speeches, except in such situations where you talk with normal people, you don't go about trying to edit your speeches, you just talk naturally. It is faster than writing, and it involves the use of slang and idiomatic expressions. In writing, we usually will give serious attention to grammatical rules of the language, in this case, English. Writing would have to involve editing and proofreading, unlike we have in speech. The moment you have spoken the words, you may no longer be able to pick them up again. But for writing, you can edit, you can cancel what you have written, and then you rewrite. Intonation versus punctuation. Speech has to do with intonation, the rise and fall of the pitch of our voice. Writing is not that way. Writing has to do with punctuations. That's where you use all the forms of punctuation marks you know, such as the comma, the full stop, the semicolon, and so on, so that your reader will be able to understand you. In speech, we make use of intonation. And so you can say with me that intonation is to speech what punctuation is to writing. In speech, we can get direct feedback. In writing, it is not that way, because speech is a dynamic interaction between two or more people. It allows for immediate feedback in the form of questions and answers, because the listener is present in the circumstance. In the case of misunderstanding, the speaker can easily explain and clarify issues. The reader is usually away from the writer in the case of writing, and there may not be opportunity for feedback except in computer-based communication. Writing requires more need to explain things clearly than in speech, because if you fail to explain things clearly in your writing, your reader may be in doubt about what you intend to say. That is why you have to take time to illustrate your writing and make it clear for your reader. Speech requires a short-term duration, but writing lasts for ages. And that was why we said that writing is permanent, but speech is temporal. All right, for this lesson, we've been able to define speech. We also defined writing. We tried to find the differences between the two. I would expect you to read more about speech and writing. Discuss the differences between speech and writing with your colleagues, and then write down the differences on paper for submission to me. In case you have any question to ask me, my email is displayed on the screen. Thank you. Goodbye.